The Suicide Squad was directed by James Gunn and it stars a couple of cast members in this movie. And this is a standalone sequel to the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. And that movie was directed by David Ayers or Ayer, whatever his last name is. And I did not like that movie that much. But with this new Suicide Squad movie, it's even better. But let's talk about it. In this movie, there's a bunch of madness going on at the island of Corto Maltese, and here we have Amanda Waller, who's played by Viola Davis, who wants to reassemble or assemble whatever, assemble a team called Task Force X, which stands for which are the Suicide Squad. They want to assemble them to go on this mission to fight this madness and also put a stop to this evil villain named Starro. And now we got our movie. I was really looking forward to seeing this movie because when I saw the trailer for this movie, when I saw a Red Band trailer, when I saw a couple of trailers, when I saw at least a couple of or 2 or 3 trailers for this movie, I said to myself, I hope this movie's better. And I got extremely worried a little bit, but when I heard James Gunn was directing this movie, I said to myself, the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies is now directing the new Suicide Squad movie. That's awesome. And what's really awesome about now I really enjoyed this movie because what's really awesome about the movie, this movie is rated R. It's bloody, it's a lot of violence, and it's gore. It's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of bloody, violence, nasty, disgusting stuff going on in this movie, and that's what this movie actually needed. But the first movie, the 2016 Suicide Squad movie, that movie did not feel much. That movie did not put any. This movie did not put any. This movie did not even showed me what a Suicide Squad movie is. But when I saw the first movie for the first time back in 2016, I liked it. But on this day, I was just like, no, I didn't like it. I thought I gave so much trust about that movie, even though I don't blame it. It's not the movie's fault. It's not the movie's fault. Well, even though I tried the best I can to adore the 2016 movie, but then I was like, you know what? I'm done. But this new Suicide Squad movie is even better because it's, like I said, it's a lot of nasty, disgusting blood and violence going on throughout this entire movie. And it also promised the fans what a Suicide Squad movie is. And this does feel like a Suicide Squad movie. But the last movie, it kind of doesn't feel like a Suicide Squad movie. It does, but not even close. Which, the first movie was PG-13, and this one is a hardcore, hell of a ride, rated R, rated movie. So, that's all I gotta say. Even though the first movie was okay, I love this one better. And I gotta tell you, this new Suicide Squad movie is even better and even the best movie I've seen this year. And even though I didn't watch this movie in theaters, I watched this movie at home on HBO Max. It's literally up to you if you want to watch this either in theaters or on HBO Max. It's literally up to you. I watched this movie on HBO Max and I loved it. I watched the whole movie and said, this is better. This is extremely better. And it was kind of funny. It was funny. And also, there were also funny jokes in this movie. That's cool. So let's talk about the actors and the characters. So let's start with Idris Elba as Robert Duvall. I think, yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm going to say Robert Duvall. I don't really care. But let's start with Idris Elba as Robert Duvall, a.k.a. Bloodsport. I gotta tell you, I love this guy. He is kind of like the next Will Smith character from the first Suicide Squad movie. Like Will Smith played Deadshot in the first movie, but this character, Bloodsport, I feel like Bloodsport is one of my favorite characters because Bloodsport is played by Idris Elba, and I thought Idris Elba really I feel like he should own the entire movie because he was easily the best part of this movie, but not just him, but the other Suicide Squad characters. But I think Idris Elba was awesome in this movie as Bloodsport, and Bloodsport is one of my favorite characters in this movie. Don't you think? He's cool. But let's talk about Now I do want to talk about King Shark, who's basically voiced by Sylvester Stallone, and I thought he was really funny, and he always every time he's hungry, he's like num num, and I'm like, oh no 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 no, he did it. But I think King Shark is one of my favorite. I think King Shark. I think Sylvester Stallone as King Shark was perfect casting, but I was just like, he didn't sound like Sylvester Stallone. He didn't sound like he didn't really sound like Sylvester Stallone, even though I wish he did a little bit. But I did find a little bit of I think pros and cons about the character. But I didn't like about King Shark, and things I loved about King Shark. I think the King Shark character was cool. Sylvester Stallone was really cool as King Shark, and I do want to talk about now. Let's talk about Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag or Colonel Rick Flag from the first. He's back. He's back from the events of the 2016 Suicide Squad movie, and now he's back. He's back. It's great to see him again after the events of the first movie, and I was like, you know what I said to myself? I think he was way better in this movie than he was in the first movie. I thought he was way better in this movie. I liked him way better in this movie than he was in the first movie. I mean, it's not really his fault that he was in the first movie. I mean, even though he was cool in the first movie, but I thought in this movie he was better. And I do want to talk about Margaret Robbie, known as Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn, she's back from the first movie, and also she's back from what's that movie? Birds of Prey. She's back from Birds of Prey, and now she's in this movie. And I was just like, well, that's really cool. But I feel like Birds of Prey is more of a spin-off to the Suicide Squad movie, from the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. To my opinion, Birds of Prey does feel like a spin-off movie to Suicide Squad. But not, well, kinda, I don't know. But I think Margaret Robbie was really good as, I really love Margaret Robbie as Harley Quinn. I thought she was funny, but then sometimes I said, don't you ever be quiet for at least a couple of minutes and stop being all crazy? Not really. But I said, you know what? Harley Quinn's an awesome character. I thought she was really, really awesome in this movie. But in the first movie, I loved her in the first movie. But in this movie, she was better. But I loved her in the first movie, but I also did like her in Birds of Prey, which was really nice to see her again. Which was really nice seeing her in Birds of Prey. But in this movie, she was amazing. But I did want to talk about, and also there's another character in this movie that now here is Jai Courtney as a Boomerang. It's great to see him once again after the event, after he was in the first movie, the first Suicide Squad movie. But then in this movie, he's not in the movie all that much, but it's great to see him once again, but he's not in the movie all that much. And I thought that's all I gotta say for him. But it's nice to see him again. But with Amanda Waller, who's played by Viola Davis, it's great to see her once again after she was in the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. But in this movie, I thought she was filling in her character a way more than she was. Well, she did fill in her character in the first movie, but in this movie she filled in her shoes way better in this movie. But I think Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, I really liked her as Amanda Waller. I thought she was all I can say is she was good. I do want to talk about one of my other favorite characters in this movie is Ratcatcher. Ratcatcher. But I'm not going to talk about Ratcatcher number 2. You got to watch the movie. Now I do want to talk about Ratcatcher. He's played by Daniela Melchior. Yeah, it's Melchior. So I do want to talk about Ratcatcher. He's played by Daniela Melchior, and I gotta tell you, I think this is her first time being in a movie like this. She's a new character. She's the new character in this movie, which I truly get. And I gotta tell you, Ratcatcher is one of my favorite characters in this movie. And I don't know anything about Ratcatcher. I've never seen Ratcatcher in the comics before, but then I was like, yeah, imagine Ratcatcher gets her or his own movie. Even though this Ratcatcher character, I thought Daniela Melchior was really good as Ratcatcher because she has like throughout the entire movie, she has a rat who's all CGI, and just like that rat in the movie was really funny. I thought the rat and her have really good chemistry, and also they were really funny in this movie, and that's all I gotta say. And Ratcatcher also has a backstory that she actually tells, which I'm not gonna tell you. You gotta watch the movie. So that's all I gotta say for her, and I gotta tell you, Ratcatcher is one of my favorite characters. And who else is my favorite character in this movie is Peacemaker, who's played by John Cena. I forgot the actual guy's name. I forgot the actual guy's name, but it's fine. All I can call him is Peacemaker, even though I heard Peacemaker is getting his own spin-off TV show, maybe sometimes next year, and maybe sometimes, like, I believe next year or January. I really don't know. But I think Peacemaker, played by John Cena, I think John Cena was the funniest I think Peacemaker, played by John Cena, was one of the funniest characters in this movie. And he does seem like an asshole throughout the entire movie, believe me. And I'm just like, okay, dude. Alright. Yep, John Cena is the wrestler. I'm like, so you put a wrestler in a R-rated DCEU movie? Awesome. But I did like John Cena in Bumblebee. I liked him, but I also liked him in this movie. Yeah, he was actually really good in this movie, so that's all I gotta say for John Cena. And I do want to talk about Weasel. I don't know anything about this Weasel character, but I thought Weasel's not in the movie all that much. You don't really see him a lot, and I'm just like, okay, you know what, whatever. So I thought Weasel was okay. He's just not in the movie all that much. But I do want to talk about Alice Braga. I forgot her character's name, but Alice Braga in this movie, and I was like, wait, you told me Queen of the South is in this movie? Yeah, she played in this series called Queen of the South, which played on, I believe, on USA Network or something like that. I forgot. I haven't looked at USA Network in a minute. But I'm like, yeah, it's great to see the Queen of the South playing a soldier in a movie like this. But I thought Alice Braga was really cool in this movie. That's all I gotta say for her. Now, I do want to talk about, and all the rest of the Suicide Squad characters, some of them I like, and there are a couple of pros and cons I liked about them. Some I just didn't like. I didn't really care enough for them. Well, sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't, but they're just not in the movie all that much, and I'm just sitting there like, well, the rest of the other Suicide Squad characters in this movie, I thought they were really good, but they're not in the movie all that much. Now, I do want to talk about with I forgot the actor's name, but with Thinker, I think Thinker, and now I do want to talk about Thinker. I forgot the actor's name, but Thinker is in this movie. But Thinker, I'm just like, wait, I don't know anything about this Thinker character, but Thinker, I just don't know anything about this Thinker character. I don't know what he does, but I'll actually look him up on YouTube, see what his origin story is like. Yeah, Thinker from the DC Comics, but with Polka Dot Man, I gotta tell you, I like Polka Dot Man, and I was just like, oh man, I keep forgetting this actor's name. I keep forgetting the actor's name, but I think him as Polka Dot Man, I liked him as Polka Dot Man because I thought he was the best, perfect casting for Polka Dot Man. And I was just like, yeah, he was actually, because all he does is just throw polka dots throughout the entire movie, but I'm not gonna tell you why. I'm not gonna tell you why he throws polka dots. You gotta watch the movie. So, I thought he was really good in this movie, but everyone, and the rest of the other Suicide Squad characters, they were also really good in this movie, but sometimes they're not in the movie all that much. And that's all I gotta say for the Suicide Squad characters, and that's it. Now, I do want to talk about the villain, which I was meant to talk about. The villain in this movie, one second. Now, I do want to talk about the villain. The villain in this movie, now I do want to talk about this villain. His name is Starro. Now, Starro in this movie, who those people never heard of Starro, if you're a DC comic fan, if you never heard of him, Starro is a conqueror. They call him Starro the Conqueror. Starro is this villain that y'all may or may not know from the comics, but Starro is a conqueror who takes all these Starro things out of him and goes straight into other, and also whenever these Starro things like go flying everywhere, you know what happens? They get on your face, and you know what happens? These starfishes, when they're on your face, they mind control people. And these Starro things actually mind control people. And what I liked about Starro, I thought Starro was one of my favorite villains in this movie. But even though the villain from the last movie, I think it's Entrenches, he's played by Cara Delevingne, I thought she was a cool villain in the first movie, but with Starro was one of my favorite villains in this movie. I thought Starro is one of my favorite villains in this movie, and even though Starro's a badass in this movie, he was a way better badass in this movie. So I gotta tell you, this guy is a great villain. Starro's not in the movie all that much though. Even though he's not in the movie all that much, which I truly understand, I was just like, wait a second. Why is not Starro in the movie not all that much? My only issues with Starro that he doesn't. My only issues with the movie is Starro has a little bit of a backstory, but the movie doesn't really explain where Starro came from. Starro came from outer, which I believe they said Starro came from outer space or something like that. And I'm just like, well, I wish they showed you I wish they explained and showed the backstory of where Starro came from. Just a little bit, like show a little bit of the backstory and why he wants to mind control humans or mind control people or take over the world. And I thought he was a great villain. And Starro is one of my favorite villains in this movie. Great villain, right? Right. So I think that's about it for the actors and the characters. Now I do want to talk about the story. The story and the plot for this movie is I really love the story and the plot for this movie. And even though the story and the plot of the movie, you can pretty much tell exactly what's going on, which is way better from the first movie. I thought the story from the first movie, you're just like, I'm just a little confused here. What are we talking about here? Even though I did understand what the plot was, a little bit of the plot was about, but not even close. But with this movie, I thought the plot and the story actually understands. And also, what's really cool about it basically understands what's going on. It actually tells you what's going on, kind of. But with the rest of this film, with the rest of the movie, I gotta tell you, and what's really cool about the movie is this is, even though it's an R-rated movie, but this movie is one hell of a ride. This is one of a hell of a ride movie, and all the action sequences, all the action scenes, and the CG looks great. And I do like how the CGI characters look. Like we have King Shark, Starro, and King Shark, Starro, Weasel, and I think that's it actually. Those three characters or four characters, whatever, the CGI versions of them look, I really love how they were completed and completely shown in the movie. They weren't like uncompleted CGI characters. Of course these characters are all gonna be, of course Weasel and Starro and of course, Weasel, Starro, and King Shark are all going to be CGI. Of course they're going to be CGI. Because I think the CGI of them, I can pretty much see that they're all real-life CGI characters. They don't feel uncompleted. They feel like more completed, finished CGI versions of themselves. They do a really good job with that. And what's really cool about the film is the action sequences. Like I said, the action scenes in this movie were really good. And everything else about this movie, I really enjoyed. And I thought the new Suicide Squad movie was one of the best bloody, violent movies, even though it's a violent movie. This movie kind of reminds me a little bit like Deadpool, but different from Deadpool. It reminds you of Deadpool 1 and 2, but it's different from Deadpool 1 and 2 because Deadpool 1 and 2 were both rated R movies, but with this movie, it's also rated R. The new Suicide Squad movie is rated R, and I loved how they actually gave what the fans wanted. And even though James Gunn is the perfect director for this role, for the directing of this movie, and I thought he did a really good job with all the action. You can actually see all the action. There's not really shaky cam in the movie. The CGI looks great. And the action and the fights and most of the blood and the gore, the violence is great. They do a really good job making this way more better than the movie that we had back in 2016. And I think that's nothing much to say about it. And this movie actually shows what a Suicide Squad movie is, and it shows you what a Suicide Squad movie means. This actually shows that. So I think that's about it for this movie review for the new Suicide Squad movie. And there's nothing much to say about it. And I think that's about it. So be sure to like, subscribe, press notification button, follow me on Instagram, comment down below. And I'll see you on my next video. And thank you for watching.